Some may wonder, what is the importance of women's participation in the political sphere? Throughout history, women's active political and social engagement around the world has shown that effective and responsive governance can only be achieved when it's inclusive of all citizens. We've seen progress with more women in formal decision-making roles, but they remain sparsely represented in higher leadership positions. The lack of inclusion and participation of women historically has been tied to patriarchal perceptions and stereotypes that reinforce an often unconscious perception that women are less capable political leaders than men. When things such as household and family responsibilities are seen as only a woman's role, it impacts other areas of their lives as well, including their access to education and economic freedoms, which places them at a disadvantage. However, women repeatedly demonstrate that when they get a seat at the table, they are change makers and transformative leaders who contribute to improving community well-being and development. This is evidenced by women who bring unique perspectives to the political arena, resulting in policy initiatives and legal reforms that promote equal access to public services, such as healthcare and education, and address critical issues like gender-based violence, climate change, and economic welfare. This matters because women's presence in leadership positions are shown to shape gender norms in the long term, creating a normalizing effect for society, and thus paving the way for more women in leadership. So how can we increase women's inclusion and participation in a country's governance processes and political economic development? We know from experience that women have determination and drive to challenge and change the status quo, but there are several additional factors that contribute to increased representation of women in governance. A political structure that stands for equality and inclusion. Inclusive policies and laws that favor gender equality in all areas of life. The presence of an independent women's movement and civil social organizations whose voice carries in public life, and a supportive and accessible social welfare system, including affordable daycare. Many women rely on democratic systems to ensure gender equality, and that full political participation and representation are embedded in the Constitution. It has been shown that when gender equality features more strongly in the legislation and the political architecture of the state, women have played a fundamental role in democratic transformation, as has been seen in countries such as Tunisia and Chile. But what role does multi-level governance play in regards to women's active participation in political systems? In many cases, multi-level governance has been shown to be a critical feature of democratic nation building, as it brings governments closer to the people through a division of powers among different levels of government, which allows for greater diversity and inclusion. Multi-level and decentralized systems have the potential to facilitate more inclusion of women in governance. For example, the lower campaign costs to engage in local elections result in reduced financial hurdles. In addition, the probability of being elected is higher since there is less competition at the local level. So increasing women's participation at the local level can be key in increasing their inclusion and representation at the subnational and national levels. Also, women's leadership experience at the local level and their increased visibility can then provide them greater recognition and a better chance of being elected at the provincial and national levels. With all of this in mind, we know that it is only through women's full inclusion and participation in decision-making that we can achieve strong governance and attain our global commitments to equality, fairness, and a better future. Thank you for watching. Please leave us a comment below, letting us know how this video impacted your view of women's participation in governance. And for more resources on women's empowerment, check out our publications, which you can find at forumfed.org.